What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. We got a lot to cover for you guys in this video. Many people think that we are in the start of World War III with the Ukraine-Russia war and now the Israel-Hamas-Palestine war and all the different countries that are involved. Take a look at now what is unraveling. We have multiple different things for you guys in this video. We'll start here with this. Okay, first of all, a major undersea pipeline was damaged and appears to be deliberate, says Finland. Now, remember here that Finland just joined NATO as the 31st ally to become a member of NATO here this year, just several months ago. And remember that Russia was very unhappy about this. In fact, you can see multiple different headlines here previously. Putin issues fresh warning to Finland and Sweden on installing NATO infrastructure. He had threatened Finland and Sweden multiple different times. You can see another headline here. Putin warns of nuclear and hypersonic missile deployment if Sweden and Finland join NATO. Literally threatening them with nuclear warfare, hypersonic missiles against Sweden or Finland. Okay, so this was in within the last 12 to 18 months, multiple different threats. Now we have extensive damage to an undersea gas pipeline and communication cables connecting Finland and Estonia, quote, could not have occurred by accident and appears to be the result of a, quote, deliberate external act, Finnish authorities have said. Quote, it is likely that the damage to both the gas pipeline and the communication cables is the result of external activity, the Finnish president said on X, known formerly as Twitter, adding that the cause of the damage was not yet clear. Local media sources citing unnamed government sources are saying that Russian sabotage was suspected, while regional security experts said a Russian survey vessel had recently been observed making repeated visits to the vicinity of the Baltic Connector pipeline. The Finnish Prime Minister told a press conference in Helsinki that a preliminary assessment suggested that, quote, the observed damage could not have been caused by normal use of the pipeline or by pressure fluctuations. Asked directly about the likelihood of Russian involvement, Obro said he did not want to speculate on potential perpetrators before the investigation was complete. It's important not to jump to conclusion at this stage. NATO Secretary Jens Stoltenberg said the transatlantic military alliance was ready to share information about the destruction of the Finnish and Estonian underwater infrastructure and to support its allies. The president of the EU, Ursula von der Leyen, condemned the attack. They're calling this an attack, saying our pipelines and underwater cables connect citizens and companies across Europe and to the rest of the world. They are lifelines on financial markets and global trade. Quote, there were no indication that explosives had been used, but the damage was not an act of ordinary person. You need a certain kind of know-how and equipment. This incident happened just over a year after a series of underwater blasts burst 3 of the 4 pipelines that make up the Nord Stream 1 and the Nord Stream 2, a major conduit for Russian fossil gas exports to Western Europe, spewing gas into the Baltic Sea. Because the leaks occurred in their exclusive economic zones, Denmark and Sweden opened investigation into the attack, as did Germany. Now remember, Russia tried to blame this on the US and everybody else, but if we go back here, remember that Putin was threatening Finland and Sweden all the way back to 2022. This headline was in June of 2022, and the Nord Stream attack was on September 2022. Now, Putin and Russia were already threatening Finland and Sweden before the Nord Stream pipeline attack back then. So you can kind of piece this together. This is where you got to kind of think about this stuff. Putin and Russia are always going to try to blame America, the United States, and NATO for everything. In fact, look at what is in the headlines right now here today. Vladimir Putin says that the Israel-Hamas conflict is, quote, a failure of U.S. policy in the Middle East. So if you listen to Russian propaganda, if you listen to pro-Russian YouTube channels, or if you listen to comments in YouTube channels that are Russian bots or paid by Russian media, Russian propaganda, you're going to hear this rhetoric. You're going to hear that, oh, it's a failure of U.S. policy that, the Hamas terrorist group surprise attacked Israel. That's a failure of U.S. policy. So you got to remember here that this is what Russia wants. This is what Putin wants. They're going to blame everything on the U.S. or NATO. Anything that happens in the world, they're going to blame on their enemies, whether it's Europe, the EU, Finland, Sweden, the United States, Biden, NATO, anybody that is Putin's enemies, they are going to blame on anybody but themselves. And honestly, you can't blame them. This is what you should do, but you got to kind of think this stuff through. Don't fall for the rhetoric, okay? Honestly, Republicans and Democrats do this too. You always hear Republicans blaming Democrats, Democrats blaming Republicans, but you just have to be smarter, okay? Putin is going to blame everybody but himself. So a surprise attack by the Hamas terrorist group, and Putin blames everybody but, the actual people who did it. You guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments, but Finland is saying that who else would have done this except for the person that's been threatening them for 2 years now, which is Putin in Russia. And I just showed you the headlines of what they have been threatening them for all this time. Don't join NATO or we're going to attack you. And now this pipeline gets attacked. Who do you think did it? And now NATO says that they're going to respond if the damage was deliberate. And as of right now, they're saying there's no way that this damage could not be deliberate. So you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I will keep you up to date here. If you haven't yet, subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any new videos. Don't forget to like and share these videos here as well. You don't hear this stuff on a lot of news stations, and you don't hear a lot of propaganda-free reporting here. So I will keep you up to date. I'm just a realist. Think about this stuff realistically. Use your brain, guys. Click here to see the deadly message Iran just sent to Biden, or click here to see what Biden just said about Americans being taken as hostage. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.